boy, did we get a lot of drama, but also a lot of very, very elite basketball on both sides. I have a bunch of stuff I want to get to, so let's do it. But as always, thank you so much for watching. It really means the world. All of the people on the court and on the sidelines are simply operating in the sandbox according to the rules and context presented to them. That being said, the league is doing and has done some real shadowy shit. If you're not accustomed or aware of it, I am gonna give you a very, very simplified truth about these finals.
You know, when I was there, the league would come in, and if a team was up 2-0 or 3-0 in a series, they put the referees in a locker room and they'd show us 15 or 20 plays that they wanted us to concentrate on that night in the game. And those plays always went for the team that was down in the series and against the team that was up. So that's how they would manipulate the series, so the games would go from 3-0 to 3-1, 3-2. So it'd be a 6-7 game series. I write about this. And in Houston, Jeff Van Gundy came out and said that he was told by a league official that, the referee was going to go out and crack down on certain calls in the game that night on Yao Ming, and they went out and did, and I think that they were up 2-0 in the series. Next thing you know, it was 2-2, and it was a 7-game series. So it's something that the league comes down and programs and trains the referees in these morning meetings of certain things that they really want you to concentrate on in a given night, and it goes for the team that's down in the series and against the team that's up.
The league is incentivized for a million different reasons to prolong the NBA Finals, the most number of eyeballs, all of the ad money, the local economies, the opportunity to market its own product at its apex to a more diversified and just a larger potential audience. The important thing that I have tried to explain a million different ways on a million different platforms is that in order to make headway towards that objective, the league is way too smart to just award a big ass discrepancy in total number of free throw attempts between two teams. Not about the 5 attempt discrepancy between the two teams. It's the fact that there were 71 attempts from the fucking charity stripe in this game, and that type of game will innately benefit or harm both teams in any series differently. Clearly, Indiana, as a free-flowing, democratically distributed team on the offensive end, has more to lose by these choppier sequences of constant free throws and whistles. Not to mention their opponent, the Thunder, happened to have the MVP in Shai Gilgeous, who has a quite large amount of notoriety as being the trademarked free throw merchant and loves to throw his body like a dying carcass off of the highway. Not to mention he's instigating a lot of the contact, traveling, and everybody's favorite, pushing off on approximately 80% of his mid-range attempts. Point being, OKC stands a lot more to gain by having more free throw attempts, aka a stricter whistle, meaning that these ticky-tack fouls are going to actually be called, even though in preceding games they hadn't been. Game 1, there were 45 combined free throw attempts. Game 2, it went up to 59. Game 3, it receded to 52. And then tonight for Game 4, it spiked all the way up to 71 total attempts. The team that we've established had more to gain. They happen to be down 2-1 in the series, and if they fell down 3-1, there is a very good chance they end up losing the entire series. Hopefully that gives you some color as to what was on the line. Again, shorter series bad, advertisers mad, local economies mad, big picture storyline of such a dominant team all year, 68 wins, getting getting folded up in 5 games to a perpetual underdog Pacers team, there's just a lot to lose. And it is just funny how this isn't such a miracle. This is a known empirical phenomenon that the league employs. Pacers got 33 attempts and the Thunder only got 5 more. Yeah, the problem is you shouldn't be getting 38 attempts in a game. It's clearly in Oklahoma City's favor to have all of these stoppages and all of this rest for its MVP candidate that, oh, by the way, happens to be the best foul drawing, driving player in the league besides Giannis. They're really, really close though, and Giannis is 6'10" and literally doesn't even have a jump shot, really, and so he has to dive into people. The nature of the calls themselves did not lend themselves to giving the NBA a lot of cover from these accusations. We had rip-throughs, we had blatant push-offs that weren't called on SGA, really weird phantom calls on Nesmith as he perfectly predicted Chet's spin move in the paint, just a host of pretty questionable leaning and tilted calls, again, favoring the Thunder. It reminds me of last year in the playoffs, the Timberwolves swept the Phoenix Suns, and in that game 4, miraculously at home, I will add, the Suns are rewarded with more free throw attempts in the first quarter than they received in the entire previous game. I don't think that they are, quote, deciding games. They are definitely tilting them in favor of the team trailing in the series. I thought this game was heavily influenced by that phenomenon, and while it is frustrating, it is not new, and frankly, it wasn't even as egregious as it has been in the past. We saw Indiana have a plus 20 edge in 3-point attempts. They were plus 8 in 3-point makes. They were plus 10 in assists. Oklahoma City, on the other hand, goes plus 14 in paint points and then plus 13 in second chance points. That dichotomy is important because what it signals is Indiana was able to at least somewhat touch the paint, spray it out, get good enough looks to good enough shooters to knock down that 3 ball, which is a huge deal in the modern NBA, as well as the assist rate. OKC's offense was devolving a lot into ISO one-on-one offense, into a lot of drives, which in turn offered even more opportunity for these perpetual free throws. Second chance points was recognizing that their offense was not working super smoothly to generating efficient and effective first shot half-court offense. You gotta crash the glass. You gotta try to get extra possessions, get kickouts, and again, get yourself fouled. The DNA of these teams is becoming extremely evident, and at their roots, the Pacers are a democratically distributed offense where everybody is involved and invited to be involved, obviously spearheaded by their Steve Nash reincarnate, Tyrese Halliburton. This fourth quarter collapse is fascinating. They go 5 for 18 field goals, 0 for 8 from 3, 7 of 10 from free throws, 3 turnovers, and just 1 assist. Also interesting, Siakam only attempts 1 shot in 8 minutes played in the quarter. Part of that definitely due to the Thunder doing a really, really good job of jumping these dump passes into the post. That is basically what they are conditioned to do. It is not a good idea to try and make post-entry feeds. Even if it seems like a mismatch, you really, really have to be careful about it. The Hallie Predator mode, I'm not mad that he was really trying to seize his superstar Kodak moment, but it ended up compounding the other factors, getting the whole team out of rhythm and ultimately stop playing their brand of egalitarian, very dynamic style of offense. And then you start to see the turnovers creep in, playing a lot more timidly. You're trying to protect the lead, not build on it. The free throws are just constantly mounting, as well as the underlying frustration. Underneath all of that, the pressure of the game at home. And man, this is just one of the worst outside secondary experiences when a home team is foregoing a lead and basically wetting the bed. Having the home crowd all around them becomes a detriment, not an advantage. And fucking A, that must have sucked balls. I cannot say enough about the dynamite levels of activity and commitment from the Pacers. Yeah, their fucking defense has been this good since January. I didn't really realize that. I mean, obviously looking at indicators is one thing, but actually seeing the who, the what, the when, and obviously pitting them against formidable opponents is only going to squeeze out the best in you. Iron sharpens iron. Thought the biggest sign of this was the fact that SGA was clearly pacing himself throughout this game, only attempting 5 field goals total in the first quarter, and it was almost just 4 because his 5th shot came with literally 30 seconds left. And like I said, jdub was really spearheading that effort, getting himself in rhythm, and clearly it was some of that your turn, my turn type of deal. And an interesting subplot was it felt like the Pacers were better and more pristine with the timing and the who behind the doubles onto Shea, but Shea was simultaneously more prepared and better at getting off of it or getting free throws or getting shots up. So I guess a net neutral. The biggest outcome though was sure generating fewer turnovers. Shea had 6 in the last game. He finishes with just 2 this game. They definitely generated a lot more misses though. And that, of course, the next best thing. A few just montage reel moments for me that stood out. TJ McConnell crossing up Shea Gilgeous is just fucking comedy. Halliburton's finishing, getting downhill, and some of these gliding like underhand scoops and finishes on his way down. Super, super impressive, man. And like the super high off the window thing. I really do respect him lowering the shoulder into Chet's body, who was dealing with that rolled ankle thing. I'm sure he was aware of that, but he did the SGA to SGA's teammate, initiating the contact, getting the free throws. He didn't finish. Obi Toppin hit some dynamite back-to-back threes on a catch and shoot early in the shot clock. Pascal being the super rangy defender, offensive release valve on some of these turnarounds, as well as the rebounding on both ends of the floor, running the floor, all of those things. Will say though, I kind of expected them to attack Chet's ankle a little bit more. Guy unfortunately rolled it pretty early in the game and pretty badly as well, and then I think he re-aggravated it later on. And I could only think of Dylan Brooks when he was getting asked about, is he swiping on Steph Curry's broken thumb or whatever the fuck that was, and all he said, if I had a bum ass ankle I would be driving at me all game long. Kind of the hardest acknowledgement of yes, I'm absolutely doing that. All but threw his body on the ground when Halliburton lowered his shoulder to draw those free throws. I would be yelling from the sideline, this dude cannot take contact. So if you cannot take contact and stand your fucking ground, you're probably gonna do some awkward, let me get out of the way, or try to do some wacky shit and make your shot attempt easier or cleaner. I just thought they didn't really do that enough. Chet and jdub are truly playing so much better. Dub finishes 11 for 11 from the free throw line, but they, to me, are all earned. Broad ass shoulders. He loves the one-handed scoop shot, doesn't really need that many steps inside the arc. He's pretty fucking fast in a straight line bolt. Just come away really loving his aggression, especially the aggression early on, really setting the tone for his team in the first quarter. And those free throws did a good job at papering over his 4 turnovers, which I do think matter a lot because, again, Shea was so clearly being intentional about expending his energy and really pacing himself, which just means that Dub and other guys are just gonna have to create and initiate more offense. 4 turnovers, definitely not ideal, but getting yourself to the line for 11 points is definitely not something that every guy can do to make up for it, and I just thought he did a really great job. Chet, scary ankle roll. I actually just thought really cool of him to come back and muscle through the game. Obviously, everyone loves to say everybody's dealing with something. Yeah, well, they didn't roll the fucking shit out of their ankle in like the first 6 minutes of game 4 in the NBA finals, and he's like 23. Probably a slight factor. Again, these are a bunch of 22 to 25 year olds wrestling with the identity crisis as the favorite and the super ultra dominant, regular season team and yada yada, but ultimately you have to be able to manufacture that us versus the world mindset. Really inspiring shit. More than that, he finishes with the second most minutes of anyone on OKC with 37. That is a lot of fucking minutes after rolling your ankle in the first quarter. Overall, offensively, not exactly dynamite. He's still pitching in where he can, but back to the second chance points, 2 colossal putbacks in the midst of that fourth quarter comeback that were just, again, really inspiring and critical for his team to perpetuate the energy and overall drive to continue to attack. Even though, as we have covered, the OKC's first shot half-court offense was really not that effective. So ineffective, actually, that I had to do some research. The Thunder scored 31 points, the Pacers only 17. That is not very good if you're a Pacers fan. Of those 31 fourth quarter points, 22 of them came from free throws, which were 12, second chance points, which were 8, and turnovers, which were 4, but 0 fast break points, which means that less than a third of the points that they scored in the fourth quarter came from first shot half court offense. Almost half were from free throws alone, second chance points, storming the glass and putting it back in, and then mistakes from your opponent in turnovers without even pushing the pace off of a defensive rebound and getting out on the fast break. You are going up against an air quote set defense every time, and they only end up scoring 9 of their 31 points in that way from the first shot, meaning good offensive execution, getting the ball in the paint, spraying it out, moving it around, yada yada. I just have to give a salute to Ime Udoka and the Houston Rockets for what I love to call junkyard ball, which has a lot of viability and effectiveness in the playoffs, even when your half-court offense is clearly composed of shortcomings and limitations. You can still conjure up and scrape up enough points by just outworking your opponent and getting into their fucking chests by getting to the free throw line and getting on the glass. Caruso is the only other exception here. 20 points, obviously great, really great plus minus. He had some really key ISO initiated tough shots, as well as hitting one of just the 3 total 3-point makes that the Thunder had. He also gets to the line 7 times, 5 fucking steals for a tie with Chet Holmgren for the best plus minus. Obviously, he really steps up, pitches in offensively when the opportunity or the need arises, and is constantly beating the drumbeat of one of the most dangerous defensive players in the NBA without question. The issues really arise with Aaron Wiggins, with the classic plays for 8 minutes, gets his ass yanked out of the game, gets an assist and a steal in that time, goes 0 for 3 from the floor, misses a 3, does get to the free throw line and splits a pair, but holy fucking shit, does Dagnall not trust that dude in that spot. Wallace as well, only 19 minutes, 2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, only 1 for 5 from the floor. He had a really, really clutch mid-range shot. I forget when and where it was. Before that point, he was like 0 for 4 in the game, really, really struggling offensively, and then had that tough turnover where he did like a half lob to Hardenstein, but it was so low that Nembhard, who somehow got switched onto him, was somehow able to like punch it out through Hardenstein's hands. Shit, dude, you just got to like put it almost in the basket basically because he's got such a big height advantage. So he has his minutes sort of tapered off. Isaiah Joe also only with 5. There were clear haves and have-nots. What I'm just realizing big picture, Dagnall is aware of how exceptional this Pacers defense has been. And so Dagnall just knows he needs offensive firepower to keep pace with this very robust Indiana offense where it's like whack-a-mole and nobody ever stops running and everybody can shoot, and most of the time they are all in dangerous sync with each other, constantly prodding and getting you off balance, and then ultimately and inevitably usually taking advantage of some kind of advantage getting created. Pretty much ended up with SGA, Dub, and Caruso as their only real ball handlers, which ultimately just helps Indiana's defense even more. When you have fewer pressure points to really stomp out, you just become easier to defend. And so if you have guys in there who are 0 for 4 or 0 for 3 from the floor, you're a non-factor, and you're just going to make it easier for them to stop the guys that we do have who can score from scoring. So the Thunder can't really afford to have non-threats on the offensive end. Here we are. I definitely think that this is going to be a total bloodbath, and honestly, it is probably going to go 7 games. So there you have it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time.